Hello, I'm Steve Lyon. I'm a professor of electrical and computer engineering at Princeton. Now you might wonder, if I have an electron sitting on a liquid, first, why does it sit on the liquid? Why doesn't it just go into the liquid? And the reason is that helium is what's called a negative electron affinity material, which means it takes about 1 electron volts worth of energy to put the electron into the helium. But then there's still this question of, well, we have this liquid, how do we actually make devices and so forth out of that? And the way we do that is shown here. What we can do is we have our structure, there's a substrate, a channel here, and we have some gates here that are holding that channel, different voltages underneath them. And we have some bulk helium down here. And because helium is a superfluid, the surface tension causes it to wick up, and you get a thin helium film across everything. In fact, everything in there will be coated with a helium film. And now what we can do is we can trap the electrons with a voltage applied to these gates. And then this, I have this designed as a CCD. I have 3 different voltages, the red, the blue, the green. We can now move these electrons along that charge-coupled device there. Now, that's the sort of simple picture of how these devices work. But here are actual devices that we have made and studied. In fact, all 4 of these were made at semiconductor foundries. The top 2 were made with some collaborators at Sandia National Lab, and these were made commercial foundry. And now one of the big advantages of electrons in silicon is that you can have very small quantum bits. And by using these channels, we can make the devices for the electrons bound to the helium about the same size as the devices in silicon. So these channels here are only about 3 microns wide, and the period of those gates is also about 3 microns. What we do is make that channel very narrow so that we only let 1 electron through at a time, and that's how we can sort and pick out 1 electron at a time. And then we have these regions over here with gates where we can do measurements. Here's an expanded view of that. We can trap an electron and move it back and forth and use that to measure it. Now, as I said, these particular chips were made at a semiconductor foundry, but there's a bunch of work that has to be done after you get those to turn them into devices that we can use. And for that, we use the clean room here on campus. So we have this chip down here packaged, and we put these high-frequency coaxial cables, and then this whole assembly, it has several printed circuit boards that route all the wires appropriately, and we put that into this copper cell, and that will now put down in, make it very cold, let a little bit of helium in there, and that will give us this thin film of helium coating our device and let us do our experiments. So here we show a new structure we've been working with, which is a large array of quantum dots. The idea is that we have a structure like this, where at the bottom we have a metal gate that we make positive, then an insulator layer, then a metal gate that's made more negative, and we can trap a single electron over that little hole. And now we can make a very large array of these. And this picture was taken with an optical microscope, and so we're right at the limit of its resolution.
Here we see a CA system we use to cool down our sample once we have that out of the clean room. In this system, we pump helium through continuously, and we can quickly go to around 1.5 Kelvin.
If we want to go colder than about 1.5 Kelvin, we need to go to a different system than the one that Emil just showed you. And this is our helium-3 cryostat. So it's a different isotope of helium. And this is kind of a special cryostat in that we have a large magnet in there so that we can apply large magnetic fields. Down in this copper can, we actually have an EPR resonator. So we can do standard electron spin resonance experiments at very, very low temperatures. So if we want to go colder than 300 millikelvin, the next system that we're going to have to go to is our dilution fridge.
This is the last system, the dilution refrigerator. This can get you down to 25 millikelvin, and our samples are placed inside here that has a 3-axis vector magnet. This works by pumping on a mix of helium-3 and helium-4 to get down to 25 millikelvin. The magnet has a very high homogeneity of just 1 microgauss over a volume of 10 cubic centimeters.
So I hope that we've given you some flavor of the kind of work and the kinds of devices that we work on here. So thank you very much for visiting our lab and watching our video, and we wish you well.